Now, President Trump continues to have this belief that the economy will help him win re-election. Now, that's despite the fact that, of course, that some economists are talking about there might be another recession coming in soon, within the next couple of years, maybe even sooner. The Trump economy is basically built on a house of cards, and I've said it before. You have wages that are stagnant, corporations laying people off. For example, you had recent layoffs in Lordstown, Ohio. GM, you had a lot of layoffs at Carrier. Actually, them moving to another country. You had basically a lot of different companies have either decided to lay off. AT&T also did layoffs. We've reported on all those different things throughout the last year and a half. And yet, for some reason, Trump says, oh, no, it's going to be better. Not only that, but even despite having massive tax cuts, right, there were these layoffs and there was a little bit of bonuses, but not very much, and then stagnant wages following. No gigantic bump in wage growth. Now, not only that, but of course you have the farmers. Farmers are getting absolutely crushed by Donald Trump's handling of trade. Despite that, the president continues to retweet people like the chair of the Republican Party, who claims that, oh, no, we're doing great. We're doing amazing. No, we're not. The latest reality-defying retweets came after they posted a video showing an Iowa farmer who loves Donald Trump. Now, are there farmers that love Trump? Of course there are. That said, this was right after the Secretary of Agriculture got an earful from farmers not doing great under his presidency, and I reported on that. In fact, Brian Tallman, who serves as the president of the Minnesota Corn Growers Association, said this: "We are not starting to do great again. We are starting to go down very quickly." Well, that's not good. That's the opposite of doing well. It's doing very poorly. Roger Johnson, president of the National Farmers Union, the nation's second largest general farmers group, told Bloomberg that Trump's strategy of constant escalation and antagonism has worsened the situation. Of course it has. There's more. Family farmers and ranchers, he said, can't withstand this kind of pressure much longer. Bob Keelan, North Dakota farmer of 35 years, told CNBC that, quote, "It's really, really getting bad out there. Trump is ruining our markets." And of course, that was the recent news where China decided to stop buying U.S. agricultural products altogether, thanks to the recent increase in tariffs. Again, are there still farmers that love Donald Trump and still give him the benefit of the doubt? Of course there are, right? But you can't argue with what's going on, the reality of the situation. That Donald Trump has basically taken what was a pretty good, relationship that you had with China buying agricultural products. And China does a lot of other bad things, don't get me wrong. But in this case, they would buy the massive majority of soybeans grown in the United States. That was good for soybean farmers. That's good for the Midwest. It's good for the economy. Now, that is no longer there. The reality is that it's actually really bad out there for the farmers. And that's due to Trump's ridiculous trade policy. Now, are there ways that you could try to modify China's behavior and encourage them to be a better actor? Yes. Has Donald Trump done that? Well, obviously not. Now, there's more. Now, President Trump seems to be certain that he'll be facing Joe Biden in November. I know, laugh along with me, right? Now, maybe it's because he wants to face Joe Biden in November. Probably because he assumes that Biden is going to be an easy target, which I think he will be, actually. And I'll explain that later. Now, the other retweet that he had done is basically a lie that the Joe Biden presidency would kill the fossil fuel industry and the auto industry right alongside with it. That's kind of funny because it doesn't really match up, right? Greenpeace just gave Joe Biden a D-. Just saying, right? Not only that, but here's the thing. Do you really think that status quo Joe is going to kill the fossil fuel industry? Are you kidding me? No, it's a lie. I actually wish he would kill fossil fuels. Not like this second, but replace fossil fuels And of course, the workers allow the workers to get better jobs outside of the fossil fuel industry and help them with the transition. Do that within 10 years. That's what a lot of the progressives with the Green New Deal are proposing. Let's, put a moratorium. Let's shut down and taper off fossil fuels and transition all those workers into the jobs of the future that actually have benefits, they pay more, and are better jobs overall. That would be fantastic. Now, Joe Biden says, oh, well, I'm now in favor of the Green New Deal. As you're going to see, not really. No, Biden's plan is not ambitious at all. At all. In fact, parts of his plan were literally copied and pasted from other people's climate plans. So, and look, this isn't the first time that the Biden campaign, through the many numerous campaigns that he had run attempting to be president, has been accused of plagiarism. But here's the thing: if you're basically copying and pasting other people's plans, then that really kind of tells you that you're not exactly serious about doing climate change. So no, I don't think he'd kill fossil fuels, and I certainly don't think that he would kill the auto industry. And on climate change, we've got less than 12 years, right? Biden's plan called to go net zero by 2050. Not only that, but like I said, it's not fast enough. It's not enough to avoid climate disaster. So, and look, as far as anybody else's plans, they also do not kill the auto industry. Now, what they would do is that they would force a switch to electric vehicles by about 2030. That's fine as long as they do it right. And what do I mean, do it right? Well, look, one thing that nobody seems to mention is how they're going to get people who can't afford to buy new cars to get new electric cars. How are you going to do that? Look, poor people don't run old junkers just because they want to. No, it's because they can't afford it. So we need a plan to address that, right? To have them be able to make the switch by 2030, right? Maybe car buybacks, for older cars, or car trade-ins, where you can trade in an old junker and actually get a new electric car for that. I mean, something. We got to do something for that, right? We'll at least have some sort of a conversation and some sort of a plan if we're going to eliminate, vehicles run on fossil fuels. But anyway, as far as companies making electric vehicles, well, there's good news. They're already doing that. And they're all trying to make the switch, right? Now, as far as jobs in the auto industry, again, as I mentioned before, they shut down the Lordstown plant, despite getting an enormous tax cut from the Trump administration. 83% of that tax cut went to the very wealthy. So tax cuts generally do not save nor create new jobs if they're for the wealthy, right? So right now, the president's kind of an economic disaster, at least a disaster waiting to happen. And I think the only reasons that it hasn't done so is that we've been running off the modest gains made from President Obama, who also, by the way, didn't challenge a lot of those other issues economically, right? Again, too deferential to Wall Street and the wealthy, but had at least picked up this nation from the economic disaster that was George W. Bush, right? So now you had the relatively stable economy from Obama, right? And then you had a sugar high of tax cuts on top of that. And so that's why it continues to function and has not crashed yet. But what happens when the sugar high wears off? Well, you crash. And if the economy doesn't immediately crash, become corrected, it will crash. And that's the big problem, right? Will it crash before the end of Trump's term? I don't know. Will it do so during the next possible Democratic president? I have no idea. But it is coming. And that's not going to change. And so what's going on with the economy right now is not going to change, no matter how many retweets you happen to retweet from your lackeys and yes men and people that want to continue to get tax cuts for themselves. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.